Chapter 3. Definitely a date. Okay, great. Thanks for spoiling that it is a date. Oh! I'm gonna shut up real quick, because who's this cutie? Morgan? I didn't know you could make your hair do that. What did you do? You look divine. Yes, I love what you've done with everything. I set the small shears on the counter and ran my hands through my hair to fluff it out, finally finished. I couldn't say what led me to decide I needed a change today of all days, but it didn't look bad. In any case, I've cut my hair before, so... You gave yourself layers, they look so good on you! It was strange how a haircut could make you feel so much lighter. I swept the final bits of loose hair off the counter and into the rubbish as I gave myself another glance in the mirror. Not bad. The door chimed and I checked the time as I went to answer. Too early for you. One nice thing about being an Esper, though. I could just expand my sphere and look. Vaughn? Curious, I went to let her in.
Hey, girl! Oh! You changed your hair! When did that happen?
Just now.
You cut it yourself?
I've done it before. I used to get too busy to schedule something and would just manage it myself.
You are braver than I am. Looks cute, though.
Thanks.
Sorry I wasn't around for training yesterday. They've had me and Caleb on something else.
Oh, really? I've heard rooks and bishops don't make the best combo, so it's interesting they sent the two of you.
They do it sometimes. Ari was off carting people back and forth to Syrah, or else they'd have sent him to babysit us.
I laughed at the idea of them needing a babysitter. Though, given how much Vaughn and Caleb bickered, it seemed appropriate. Anyway, don't worry about skipping out on practice. I worked with some of the junior agents. Heidi and I managed to work without destroying anything, so that was nice. Heidi, that was her name, not Carrie. Heidi, right. Heidi was a junior agent, a talented infantry aiming for something called promotion. Specifically, she was aiming to increase her psi levels to the point of being reclassified as a queen rank. It was ambitious, and it was something only certain types of infantry could achieve, but I believed she could do it.
How's she doing?
She's still a little frustrated at Ari refusing to train her, but I guess she's decided I'm not too bad as a teacher. Nice, I'm glad that the Heidi friendship continues in this world.
Girl, you did not have to butter her up. She will get over her saltiness at you taking over the queen rank position on her own.
I'm not trying to butter her up, but logically, it's in everyone's best interest if I help her. Literally everyone. Ari benefits because it gets her off his case a little. I know he's uncomfortable with the attention he gets from the younger agents who admire him a little too much. But who could blame them, really, for admiring Ari? It also benefits Heidi because instead of getting training from multiple people, she can work with someone who has the rank she's trying to achieve. And it makes her less insufferable when she's around me, which benefits everyone who had to witness that. And for the record, teaching people is also helpful for learning. The more I explain things to her, the better grasp I have on it. Which benefits all of you, since I'm less likely to do something dramatically destructive during training.
Okay, I get it. I wasn't looking for a presentation on the benefits of decreasing Heidi's sodium levels, Morgan.
I'm just saying that it's not only about making her less salty at me. I was wondering what the sodium was in reference to. That joke flew over my head until Morgan explained it, so thanks, Morgan. I don't have altruistic motives here. The reality is that I don't want to be a combat-oriented agent. The only reason I'm in this position, Vaughn, is because I'm a queen rank and no one else is.
So you think if there's another queen rank...
One that has literal years of training in this organization. One that wants this position. I shrugged.
I don't think they'll remove you from the first guard just because they have a spare. They'll probably fill in the roles of the second guard instead. But that's assuming it's even possible for Heidi to achieve promotion.
I think it is. I mean, she can do Cyburst, Fawn. as an infantry. Cybers are hard for some bishops. Clearly she has talent.
Well, maybe you're right. Sometimes we're too busy to invest as much in younger agents, but I suppose you'd see it a bit differently coming from the outside. Anyway, talking about Heidi isn't why I'm here. I'm here to check on you. How are you holding up? Nervous about tomorrow? I can't go, so I figured I'd just offer moral support.
I'm okay. I'll try to not break any noses on your behalf while I'm there. Unless you want me to.
Well, I understand not everyone can love me as much as Caleb does, but at least I have my admirers. Mara would have done more than break his nose, though.
What in the world did that man even say?
Honestly, I don't even remember. Either way, it's pretty funny Caleb got himself banned over it.
I guess he cares about his friends way more than it seems sometimes.
Don't underestimate that guy. Beneath all the grouchiness, he's a huge softie. In his own way.
Sure, if a cactus is soft.
Pretty sure they're squishy under all the spines.
I mean, cacti are the tsundere of plants, after all.
Anyway, I hate it up there, so I don't mind not going. Freaks me the hell out knowing there's nothing but vacuum outside ready to kill us if someone opens a window.
Thanks. I'll do my best to not think about how we'd all die if we open a window while we're up there. As she flopped on the sofa and stretched her legs out, Vaughn paused, looking me up and down. Like, wait girl, where are you off to?
Are you going somewhere today? You look fancier than normal.
You asked if I wanted to have a look around the city with him today, so he'll be here in a bit to pick me up.
A date? You asked you on a date. When did you ask you on a date?
Yeah, I guess he may have asked me on a date a couple of days ago.
I should have seen that coming. He has seemed pretty interested in you lately.
I mean, we met by chance in the lounge a few times and talked. I'm not sure that constitutes pretty interested.
He wouldn't be asking you on a date if he wasn't interested. That man does not date casually.
And yet he's a notorious flirt? Okay.
Not the same thing. When he's interested in someone, he's not coy about it and will flirt ruthlessly until it's either apparent the person isn't interested, or dating occurs. And he can be weirdly smooth considering what his personality's like.
I have noticed that. Is this where you warn me about him? Caleb always warns me.
Nah, he's a good guy. Intense sometimes, but only because he doesn't go after something unless he knows he wants it.
Which begs the question of why he's single.
Who knows? Wanting someone doesn't mean they want you back. And I think he's wary of people who are just desperate for comfort in a relationship. So many people here jump in and out of things easily, and he's not like that.
It's interesting then that he's pursuing a date knowing that Morgan is actively trying to get out of Endgame. Because he could view that as like, you know, she's only here for a month, she's trying to get out. Would she have that same attitude towards a relationship? Not saying she does, but, you know, it wouldn't be a stretch for him to wonder about that. And yet he's going ahead anyway.
Some of us want something more solid, you know?
That's understandable.
Anyway, I guess I shouldn't be surprised you're interested in him. You seem like the type who's into eccentric nerds.
I mean, you may have me figured out. I wish I could dispute that, but given my dating history...
I, for one, prefer pretty girls.
Is that the only reason you married Mara? I'm not sure she would approve.
Nah, she's the perfect blend of tough and pretty. And smart. And funny. And...
Okay, I get it. She's the perfect woman.
Basically. Anyway, date aside, I'm glad you're doing okay with the new Terra thing. I was worried you'd be anxious.
Not really. It's not like I'll be there alone. I wish I wasn't just going for work. It would be amazing to be able to look around the station. Especially with talks about retiring it and everyone relocating. If it won't be around much longer, it would be nice to see it all first.
I wonder if they'll open the upper levels before the end. They're keeping the status quo for now for everyone's safety, but, you know...
I agree. It's almost like a museum in a way. I mean, it's a repurposed colony ship. There are probably places on that station that were built on Earth. That's wild to think about. Standing in a place or touching a bulkhead that was created on our home world. I mean, I know a lot of it was rebuilt. They'd have been rebuilt during the trip here and then after centuries in space. Especially given that they had to expand it and fuse several ships together. But still, I'm sure there are parts that are original.
Ah, the history nerd has emerged.
I'll accept the label.
Well, I hope you get your opportunity to look around and rub your face all over the bulkheads that were built on Earth.
Not sure I'd go quite that far, but thanks. I think.
Listen, what I wanted to tell you was that if you want to talk after you guys get back tomorrow, just hit me up. Or me and Mara. We can do dinner and chat. If you find yourself stressed out, don't bottle it up. We're here for you, you know?
I think I'll be fine. It doesn't seem like it'll be that stressful.
You probably will be, but this is your first real assignment. It's your first time going somewhere like New Terra. It's hard to predict how those things affect you emotionally. Most juniors get easy first assignments, and they've trained their whole lives for it. They're elated to start work. You've been training for a month, and you don't want to be here. It might be more stressful than you realize. You're going into a very tense situation, even if it's just watching a meeting. It's your debut as a queen, and you don't know how it's going to make you feel after the fact. It could be more impactful than you realize. That's my point.
All right. I'll be mindful of that, and if I need to talk, I promise I will let you know.
Good. I'm sure you'll be in good hands with the others, but I hate that your first mission is separating you from half your guard. I guess it can't be helped. I'll check in with you when you get back tomorrow, okay?
Thanks, Vaughn.
And I suppose I should leave so you can finish getting ready for your date. I'll check in on that tomorrow, too.
I'll be sure to give a full report.
Great! I'll look forward to it.
She left shortly after that, leaving me to finish getting ready, as she said. I was getting used to these little visits from her. She had a tendency to want to check in on me here and there. It was sweet. YUU showed up half an hour later.
I can't even look at him right now. I was so unprepared. I was so unprepared for pretty YUU. Stop.
What is this Draco Malfoy shit I'm looking at? Why are you so beautiful? Why are you wearing my favorite color? Stop it. Look at how gorgeous these two are next to each. Oh, I can't. I'm done. This is it. I'm doomed. I'm doomed to fall in love. I've already fallen in love. It's over. It's all over for me. There's no coming back from this. Oh, alright. And composure. I'm a professional. I can do this. I was so used to seeing him in all black that the sight of him in light colors for the first time somehow took me by surprise. Yeah, sure, it was the colors. He paused to take in my new hair as I joined him in the hall.
You cut your hair yourself?
What makes you say that? Did it look bad?
Am I wrong?
No, you're right. I did it myself.
You seem experienced at it. It frames your face well. Do you often cut your own hair?
He held an arm out, indicating we should head towards the lift. I struggled to find time to get it done professionally in Sysalis, so I have a bit of practice. But it can't be that good if you could tell immediately.
It looks like a fresh cut, and I assumed you didn't have time to have it done by someone else, given the time frame and likelihood you would have been able to reserve an appointment. I didn't judge based on the quality of the styling, if that's your concern.
Ah, I suppose that made sense.
Was there a reason for the change?
Nothing specific. I needed a trim and had time today anyway. That's all.
I see. You appear less fatigued today. I hope your sleep quality has improved.
I've been trying. Your periorbital edema and discoloration haven't budged at all, I notice.
Oh damn, she got him back!
My...
I looked it up. A laugh escaped him, one hand going to rest just below his lower lip.
I see. I assume this is a teasing commentary on my occasionally over-technical medical jargon. I apologize that it sometimes slips out.
No apology necessary.
A unique attribute of my biokinetic enhancement is that my neural processing ability and synaptic response time are far above average. How fast I process and respond to external stimuli, such as visual observation, is well beyond the normal range. Subsequent neural processes such as deduction, language acquisition, and the like also occur more rapidly than usual. It's also more natural for me to think first in medical terms than in layman's terms, but the process of translating between the two is more cumbersome. I often don't take the time, particularly when working. Though it is more correct to say I forget to do it, I am aware it can make me sound odd to others.
So you think too fast to translate medical terms into layman's terms. I thought you did it just to annoy people.
There is that as well, on occasion. As for my periorbital edema, sleep deprivation is a constant companion for many medical professionals, particularly when we are on call. I fear that as much as I encourage others to have proper sleep hygiene, my own is quite poor. The dark circles are a fixture.
I understand. I try my best to sleep properly, but, well, I'd be lying if I said my sleep schedule wasn't chronically terrible even before I came here.
You are in excellent company. The medical ward aside, insomnia is endemic here. I have almost stopped attempting to encourage good sleeping habits. Almost.
I only had limited experience with Braesil. This was my first time wandering through on foot. You had warned me in advance that people would be able to recognize we were from Endgame. Yeah, probably from your just amazing aura that's coming off of you two cuties, my goodness. You guys are just styling. Everybody else is just gonna be like frumpy compared to the two of you. His face was known in the area since he went out a lot, and while I wouldn't be recognized, a quick check of my profile would reveal I was an agent since it would be unavailable. I was aware that people were noticing us quite a lot, but YUU was excellent at distracting me from it and drawing my attention to the city instead. It reminded me of Cisalis in a lot of ways. Bet many dayside cities were like that. It had its own unique things as well, though. You told me a lot about it as we walked.
Espers are, of course, a higher percentage of the population in Braesil due to Endgame's presence. And many people who live here have relatives involved with Endgame, though it isn't always easy to move here.
It's not easy to visit, either.
Oh? Is that something you've tried to do in the past?
My oldest brother tried to visit once, but was never able to make it work out.
It is an unremarkable city for those of us who have always lived here, but I suppose there's some mystery for the rest of the world.
A little.
Ah, this center has an art gallery I enjoy visiting. Perhaps on another day we can stop by to see it.
You like art?
I have a moderate interest in it. I occasionally paint on my days off, though I would never pretend to be a talented artist. However, it serves as an emotional outlet, of course. Oh my gosh, he paints too. Stop. You don't need to be any more perfect.
I wouldn't have taken you for a painter.
A surprising number of us have creative outlets of some kind. Caleb has a love for sports, which is not something I enjoy, but he also likes music and plays at least one instrument. A historical one he took a liking to.
Violin? I can't remember if we learned that he played an instrument or not in his route. Also, man, does she look amused? Or what?
It's fairly common for us to seek ways to release pent-up stress.
I admit I'm a little curious about your relationship with Caleb. The two of you seem... close? Sort of? He laughed, setting a hand on my back as he guided me around a small crowd at a crosswalk.
I've touched on this before. Many children come to Endgame and find a sort of family among the other children at the Academy. In some cases, this family replaces their biological parents and siblings even in adulthood. In my case, I have no biological family. I suppose you could say that I came to see Caleb as a sort of surrogate brother.
Aw, that's sweet. Too bad Caleb didn't feel the same way towards you. At least that I could tell from his route.
He originally piqued my interest as a fellow rook. Would you like to stop at this cafe for tea? Or coffee, if you prefer.
Oh, sure. The Swallow. When we paused to find a table in the outdoor area of the corner cafe, you pulled my chair out for me as I sat, something that brought a slight smile to my face. A gentleman. He took a seat across from me, leaning forward to rest his elbows on the table.
This is a favorite spot for many of our agents. I believe the owner has a relative in Endgame. A sibling, I think.
Ah, interesting. Does that mean agents get a discount?
Agents are, fortunately, compensated well enough to not need them.
I never thought about how much of the city is run by people with direct ties to Endgame. I suppose it's just part of the natural evolution of the dome.
Indeed.
So, you were telling me about you and Caleb? He piqued your interest as a fellow rook.
Ah, yes. Caleb attracted my attention because he maintained a position at the top of his class in terms of grades, something unusual for ranked agents. His intelligence is quite high, but he was also a surprisingly diligent student. I suppose I felt a sense of camaraderie as I, also a rook, was at a top position in terms of grades. For someone like Magnus Ulrich, who was always a non-combatant, it was expected. But rooks are not thought of as being more than tanks.
Makes sense. It's kind of like you're the jocks of the academy, so it's like, well, you're here for your strength and your speed and all that stuff, but not for your smarts. Always affectionate. You ranked above Magnus, I assume. Not that it would be hard. But you ranked above Magnus, I assume.
Naturally, though Magnus was not far behind. Despite how he behaves now, he was a dedicated student, and a dedicated agent for some time. It wasn't until Sylvia Visser died that he changed. That incident was formative for many of us. Of course, it wasn't just our queen rank who died. Sylvia was a close friend to many of us, and, at the very least, a classmate to the rest. She was someone many looked up to and was supposed to be one of our most powerful agents. And yet, she died. For adolescents who still had no real concept of death and long-term consequences, it was a devastating wake-up call about the nature of this job, about mortality, our own and that of those around us.
Wait, you guys were adolescents when this happened? I didn't realize that you were all that young. Man, that makes certain other information even more traumatizing, knowing that. Maybe I just never really connected that before and it was mentioned, but hearing that they were adolescents, sheesh, that's makes an awful situation even more awful.
Ariel and Caleb lost their mentors in the same incident, the men who were, in many ways, their father figures. For Ariel in particular, it was especially damaging. For Cale, losing Ezra Haller was A bit like having most of the structural supports in his life removed. He was lost for a long time afterwards.
And you?
What makes you think it impacted me?
Not to be bold, but you say the name Ezra Hala with such affection. I assume he must have been important to you as well.
Ah, I wasn't aware I spoke of him that way. I had experienced loss before, in ways many students my age had not, so I believed myself to be less affected. Perhaps I was mistaken. I was always a non-combatant. Even during my time at the academy, it was obvious that would be the case. Even so, Ezra took me under his wing. His death was a loss to Endgame, but to those of us who looked up to him, it was a crushing blow. Of course, Vanessa was also severely injured in that incident, and Magnus was emotionally damaged far beyond what most of us endured. He has not been the same since then, but that too affected the people around him.
Everyone is formed from the situations we face. Tragedy is probably one of the most powerful sculpting tools life has. Sometimes it feels like every one of us is just a collection of scars. I suppose the major difference is how deep those scars go and how well they heal. It seems like Magnus's position might not afford him the ability to heal as well as he might somewhere else. Not to mention his scars are not only emotional, but also physical.
That is an interesting way of looking at it. The human body has a remarkable ability to knit itself back together, but wound healing remains one of the most complex biological processes we possess. And that is just our physical body. The human psyche is infinitely more complex in all regards, and even now, psychology is not an exact science. It's no wonder that wounds on our heart stay fresh for years. Large ones may never heal at all. Trauma and the way it can linger in our emotional responses and ability to process new situations for decades remains a difficult knot for medical professionals to untangle.
He looked away, frowning.
This is far darker a topic than I intended to discuss.
Sorry about that.
There's no reason for you to be. I was the one who brought it up. It is a difficult situation to talk around, as it had such a profound impact on us all. Originally, I meant to discuss that Caleb sometimes defended me when I was targeted by others for my abnormal abilities. I suppose that was why I came to get to know him well enough to consider him family.
I can't believe you were bullied like that. I also can't believe you didn't verbally eviscerate anyone who tried.
I was somewhat more timid at the time. You are struggling to imagine it, I see.
A little bit, yeah.
I have changed a great deal since those days. At any rate, I'm still curious about your family, though we've discussed them before. The sort of family environment in which you grew up is foreign to me in many ways. Not only is it entirely different from my childhood, but few Endgame agents have experienced that sort of childhood either.
I'm not sure what to say about them. I always thought of my childhood as quite normal. But now I suppose I realize that normal is relative. It was a normal childhood for Cisalis, but probably highly abnormal for a lot of other places, not just Endgame.
Ultimately, all any of us has is our personal experiences to determine our worldview. And it isn't as if the common Endgame childhood experience is publicized. I have many other things I'm curious about regarding you as well, Morgan. We've discussed my painting, which makes me wonder, what do you do when you are not studying? I struggle to believe you study all the time.
It depends. I don't paint or play an instrument, if that's what you're wondering. I read a lot, or just go out to cafes like this one. I like to travel, but it was always hard to find time.
And where have you traveled to that you particularly enjoyed?
Ah, Well, I've been to Syrah before. Just once, though I wish I could go back. Here on Arcalis... I've mostly been to places in New Albion. But there's this little dome at the edge of the waste called High Wraith. I went rock climbing there once. I'd love to go back.
Rock climbing? And you enjoyed it?
More than I thought. Originally, I just wanted to go for the experience, to learn how, but then it ended up being fun. Challenging, but very rewarding.
Interesting. I suspect I would not be particularly adept at it.
I thought the same thing, but it ended up being enjoyable. There are varying difficulties. They don't just throw you onto a rock face and wish you luck.
Interesting. High Wraith. I've never heard of it. Unfortunately, I fear I don't find much time to travel. My experience outside of Braesil is limited to mission assignments these days.
Do you have anywhere you want to visit, or are you content to just visit places here?
I don't have much drive to travel. Not within the Dome network. I have enjoyed my trips to the Twilight region, however, and I feel that is a place I would choose to explore if given more opportunity.
You've visited the Waste?
On occasion. Does that interest you?
Of course it does! I've heard there are ruins and interesting historical sites, but since no one is allowed out there, I suppose they'll go unstudied. But it would be amazing to see them in person.
They are hardly going unstudied. The Nomos researched various aspects of the natural environment in the Waste, including the planet's history and areas of archaeological interest relating to previous cultures. I would imagine many of the structures in the Waste are being studied.
Really? Most of the syndicate structures on Arcalis are in the Waste. There are so few in the Dome territories on the day side. And the night side? Ugh. I didn't know that the Nomos had groups studying them. I mean, it makes sense, obviously. I wonder if their research is available somehow. I'd love to see it. This feels unfair. Think if I teleported myself out there, Endgame would track me down?
I suspect they'd make a solid effort to do so, should you teleport yourself anywhere. But there are patrol teams stationed in the Waste. Perhaps that's another area that would interest you for long-term assignment.
Not unless they're regularly helping excavate new structures related to the syndicate culture.
We do have research teams that interface with Nomos scientific groups, Morgan. If not directly, then at least remotely.
You do?
It seems you haven't looked that deeply into what all our research division works on yet.
There didn't seem to be a reason to dig too deep until I knew if it was even a possibility.
Then perhaps that should be the next target of your personal research.
Is this you hinting that we're moving too close to a work discussion for your liking?
It is.
Okay. I'll look into it in my spare time.
I don't mind the occasional work-related discussion, but today I wish to get your thoughts out of Endgame. For at least a little while. And yet it continues to dominate our conversations.
I'm sorry. I'll try to stop steering us back to it.
You have nothing to apologize for, of course, but I will endeavor to do the same.
After we left the cafe, you had a lot of other places he showed me. We stopped for a while at a park, walked more, stopped at a stall for some Braesil street food, which you dismissed as horrifically bad for the body, but good for one's emotional well-being. A distinction that made me smile. I appreciate a doctor that can be like, you know, there are other benefits beyond physical. It was fun, and I felt refreshed by the time we started back to Cor Solaris. Ooh, pretty lighting. It was mid-evening by then, heading towards night. You? I caught the edge of his sleeve as we walked side by side.
Yes? Is something wrong?
No. I just wanted to thank you for today. It was fun, and I needed this. He was silent for a moment, studying my face before taking my hand and setting it on his arm as we went along.
I suspected indeed that you needed time away from Cor Solaris. I am aware how dreadfully bleak it must feel there at times. But I hope you are not under the impression today was simply out of concern for your mental well-being. Or that it was motivated purely by a platonic sense of friendship.
Oh? Past platonic, excuse? I won't lie. I can be dense about this sort of thing sometimes, but fortunately not today. I suspected this wasn't just a friendly and platonic offer. I haven't been able to work out when or how I managed to capture your interest, but it doesn't exactly make me unhappy. Which, when worded that way, sounds less enthusiastic than I intended.
I suppose it was from the start, if I'm trying to pinpoint an exact moment.
Okay, well, I appreciate the honesty. Dang, okay.
After all, you managed to capture the curiosity of everyone in Endgame, as a newcomer of your stature naturally would. I was no different in that regard at first. A queen rank display natural skill of your magnitude is quite remarkable, and I will not deny that my initial interest was purely scientific. However, I have been afforded an opportunity to get to know you personally, unlike many others. A person, no matter how fascinating a single trait may be, is always more than the sum of their parts. I was happy to realize you were interesting for more than just your uniqueness as an Esper.
He paused and turned towards me, keeping hold of one of my hands.
Something like human attraction can't be summed up as a mere series of physiological responses, an equation to be deconstructed. It's difficult to decipher why people emotionally connect with one another. However, to be blunt, Morgan, I find you to be an enchanting combination of intelligence, charm, and physical beauty.
Sir, you are starting off way too strong for a first date. Like, where did we go up from here? I mean, it's just, it's so much. My heart is overflowing already. And we're only in chapter 3? Excuse me? Everything's great. Everything's fine.
Your life experiences are quite different from mine. Your way of parsing situations to draw conclusions from them is fascinating, and the way you engage with the world delightful. You're interesting and enjoyable to talk to. I admire your bright optimism, your determination, your gentle nature and compassion for others.
When I looked down, unable to hold his gaze through what was far, far too kind an assessment, Yu's fingers found their way under my chin so he could make me look up at him again.
I still have a great deal to learn about you. However, you captured my personal interest from our very first real conversation, Morgan. I can only hope I've managed to do the same.
My face was distressingly warm, but I couldn't help the smile that brought to my lips. You have, yes. You turned out to be quite different from what I expected. Yeah, same. Because, I mean, if I'm being honest, when we first met the sassy doctor, you all know I was interested. And I've only gotten more interested and now swept off my feet entirely so early into his route, so there you go, Dr. Sassy. And you captured my interest as well. Quite efficiently. Oh, the blush! Stop! Look at this boy and his pale blush. I love it.
Is that so? Then can I take that as a favorable response to my wishing to pursue a more romantic relationship with you?
You can take it as my wanting to see how this develops, yes. The smile on his face had gone from wistful to radiant. Somehow, I hadn't imagined that he would be able to smile like that. Right? It sent my stomach into pleasant somersaults. I was going to be in so much trouble very soon if this continued. You're stronger than I am. I'm already in trouble, girl.
That is precisely what I was hoping to hear.
I hadn't expected this conversation here on the footpath, but it was nice to have it out in the open. The air between us shifted as we continued walking. YUU's fingers twined with mine for a few moments before parting as if not wanting to push some boundary we hadn't crossed yet. Cute. Stop. So freaking cute. I had never started a relationship on such upfront terms before. There was always this agonizing period of uncertainty that YUU had completely obliterated. This is true. This is very true. It's a nice breath of fresh air, honestly. It was different, but not in a bad way at all. YUU left me at my door with a gentle admonishment to get some rest. I'd been a little nervous about whether he would kiss me right away. Nervous only because that seemed a little fast, and I needed a chance to absorb this first. But no, that didn't seem to be his style at all. He let 2 fingers rest against my cheek briefly, before smiling and leaving me there. Stop. I am deceased. Inside, I stood at the door, pressing my palms to it as heat swept through me again the moment I was alone. A relationship here seemed tricky, especially considering my situation. That had been my thinking when he first suggested the date, and it had flown out the door the moment he confessed how he was feeling. This development was unexpected. I had a good think about it all as I got ready for bed. I almost forgot about the mission looming over us. Oh right, that thing. Every time I thought about it, YUU's face popped in my mind and I kept replaying moments from our date instead. Until I finally shut my eyes and slipped into dreamless sleep.